Still, there's part of me too that always kind of looks back on it because, that was such a huge part of my life. It's like, I wonder what would have happened if I would have been able to go to high school, you know, where life would be different at this point.
Just had the most inspiring conversation with Josiah Shearman. Josiah talked about challenges he faced as a youth, needing to drop out of school in the 8th grade to take care of his parents, to earn money, and the life that he's built from that adversity that he's faced. I think you'll be inspired by Josiah Shearman. So today my guest is Josiah Shearman. I'm excited to welcome Josiah here today. Thank you for being my guest today on Our People, Our Purpose.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about your history at C&G. How long have you worked here and what do you do for C&G?
I've been with the company for over 16 years now. I started off as an operator on the floor, worked as an operator, worked my way up to a lead tech position. I was in a lead tech position for the better part of 5 years before I transferred into training. And I've now been with the training department for going on 6 years.
Wow. And you're up here. We are up here today. Where
Oh,
are we?
we are in Superior, Wisconsin.
All right. Is this your hometown?
Yeah, my hometown is about 20 miles south of here, a small little town of Lake Nebagman, Wisconsin. So
Say it again.
Lake Nebagman, Wisconsin. So
Lake Nebacon?
Nebagaman.
Oh, Nebacon. I thought
Yeah.
there was a bacon lake.
Yeah,
Dripping with bacon. Yeah.
I'd be all over that.
Yeah, me too. Who doesn't love bacon? All right. So tell me a bit about your life outside of work, Josiah.
Well, like I said, grew up in Lake Nebagman. Spent the first 19 years of my life there. Small population of about 1,500 people. From there, I actually moved out to Denver, Colorado. So I went from a small little town to a big city of Denver. That was a very interesting change for me. I opened up my world to a whole different line of different cultures, different people. Got to meet a lot of interesting people out there. Actually joined up with the Army while I was out there. So spent some time with that, and then with some family stuff going on, I actually made my way back to Wisconsin and been back here ever since.
So what caused you to move to Denver in the first place?
Um, that's actually that was more of a family decision, to be honest with you. My family wanted me to move out to Denver. I had an older brother that lived out there at the time. My father had recently passed away, so it was a few months. Shortly after my father had passed away, my twin brother ended up moving out to Denver, Colorado to live with my older brother, Jesse. And then my mother actually ended up moving to southern Wisconsin. And so I was actually living in the house that we grew up in by myself for a few months. And in that time frame, it was, 18, 19 years old, trying to figure out life, so to speak. I had some friends that were, constantly coming over, try to spend time with me, try to help out the situation. And their idea of helping out the situation was helping me to party, have a good time, and, slip into some wrong decisions in life. And so my family thought it would be better if I got away from that area in life and try somewhere new. And so I was encouraged to move out to Denver, and there I went.
And so once you were out in Denver, then you made the decision to join the Army.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, I was working 2 jobs when I was out in Denver, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with myself. And my older brother was pushing me to try and go to college, and I just didn't feel like college was what I really wanted to do at that time. At the time too was, I looked more and more into the military thing. Growing up, I always dreamed about actually being, typical little boy's dream of being a soldier. And I always wanted to join up with the military. And so finally I just decided, I'm going to look into it. I'm going to talk to a recruiter, and went through the steps and joined up and joined the Army Reserve. And first duty station was out of Fort Carson, Colorado. And from there, I transferred back to Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, and I was part of a small detachment there. And then that detachment got disbanded. I was forcibly transferred to Rochester, Minnesota. Then that one got disbanded, and I was forcibly transferred to Wabasha,
Mm.
Minnesota. Which, if you don't know, at Wabasha, Minnesota, their claim to fame is grumpy old men.
That's pretty good.
mm
So, what did you learn in the army? How did that shape you, change you, grow you
Um,
up, or any of those things?
oh, it definitely helped me grow up. Helped me again just learn more about people from all over the world. I went through training with people that were from Guam, obviously all over the states. I got to really make some bonding relationships. And then after I got through training, a couple of the stateside deployments I went on was actually training operations. So when I went out to California, I actually did convoy security training. So I helped a couple units actually go through convoy operations. So I'd actually set up ambush points with them, and then we do after action reviews to see how well they reacted to these ambush points. And then outside of that, I went down to New Mexico. New Mexico, I did detaining operations. So I actually helped two companies that were going overseas to Afghanistan, and then one that was actually going down to Guantanamo Bay. So we helped train on detaining operations. Outside of that, the other one that really stands out to me is I actually got to go and spend some time down in Honduras.
Mm.
When we were down in Honduras, it was actually a kind of like a PR mission. So we were doing public relations. We were working with the locals to help rebuild some schools down there. So I was actually site security, which I jokingly say I was more or less a glorified babysitter because there was a lot of construction equipment moving around, a lot of kids running around. So really what it was just making sure none of the kids ran out in front of any of the heavy equipment and stuff like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm. So, what year did you get out of the army then?
My last year would have been in 2014. So it's
Oh,
been
so
some.
you were working full time here and it being in the army
Correct.
reserve.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was many times where I'd work half a night shift and then I'd drive down to Rochester and I'd
Ah,
report in the morning.
wow.
That was I wouldn't recommend it. It was not a fun experience. It was those
Mm,
car rides got long, and there was a couple times I got down there too late. Everything would be locked up, and I'd actually be sleeping in my car waiting for a formation call in the morning. So,
man, that's rough.
yeah.
So let's go to your life today. So you're married, kids. Tell me about your current life.
Yep, married, two kids. I've been with my wife Nell. We got married back in 2015. So, and then we got two boys. My oldest is Connor. He's 7 years old. My youngest is Owen. He's 4. My oldest is really getting into sports now, so that pretty much sucks up my entire life. So, I mean, we're playing soccer, we're playing basketball. Actually, after we get done here with this today, that's where I'm going next is basketball practice for my oldest. So, and my youngest, he hasn't really gotten into anything too much yet, but he's a handful. I always joke he takes after his father. He's got the stubbornness that I always did, and I was like,
Mm.
you know, now I know what my mother went through. So,
Yeah. So do they have little army men they're playing with?
no, not as of yet. So, I don't know if I don't know if they'll show any interest into that part of life yet or not. I honestly that by the time I got out, they were so young. I don't know if they even realized that
Mm.
what I did.
Yeah. It's interesting though that the games kids have, like probably when you were little, you had the little army men you played with. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Do kids still do that? 'Cause it's like now it's like they have their iPads and the digital stuff and
Yeah,
the Game Boys and all that.
yeah, they really don't like. Um, I can say for a fact that my oldest right now, he's so sucked into Pokemon. There's really nothing else in the world going on right now. So
Now, what is that? Is that a game? Like a
yeah, it's everything. There's cartoon shows, there's card games, there's video games, there's I mean, they have giant plushies that are Pokemon.
Mm.
They love everything Pokemon, and of course, the little brother, because the older brother's into Pokemon, the little brother's huge into it as well. Because typical little brother fashion, big brother's his hero. He looks up to him, and I keep
Oh
trying
yeah.
to point that out to Connor too. It's like, Owen's always looking up to you. I wish he didn't always like the same things, but
Mm.
you're his hero right now. So soak that up while you can, because someday
Mm.
it won't be so.
Yeah.
So,
But Connor's 7?
yep, Connor's 7.
Yeah, so maybe that concept of being the hero, he needs a few years of that.
Yep.
Yeah. They're probably fun ages, so Christmas will be fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. They are heavily looking forward to it.
Yeah. So tell me about when you were growing up. Was there anything in particular, some adversity you had to overcome that's kind of shaped you now that you look back on as kind of pivotal in your life?
Uh, um, the fact that both my parents were, from a medical standpoint, on disability, that made things challenging. I mean, uh, I actually ended up dropping out of school after middle school,
Mm.
so I never went to high school. I actually didn't touch a textbook for 4 years before I went into UWS here in Superior, and I went in for my HSED, which I was still pretty proud of because I actually tested top 99 percentile for the state of Wisconsin for science and math.
Wow.
So that was something to say as far as my schooling through middle school. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I ended up dropping out just to help out the family, working a full time job. Well, since I was 14 with my dad, and then after that, I started working at a family owned bait shop in Iron River. Within like 3 months of working there, the owner of the place started just leaving me there by myself. He's just like, "You got this. You got it taken care of. So I'll let you run the show." And then, but still, there's part of me too that always kind of looks back on it because that was such a huge part of my life. It's like I wonder what would have happened if I would have been able to go to high school. Where life would be different at this point. As one of the fun things was like the last 2 years of school that we actually ended up going to school because me and my twin brother. I don't know if you know this, but my twin brother works upstairs here, so my twin brother works here as well.
Mm.
But the last 2 years, we actually went to school. Both of us actually worked as custodial workers at our school, just so we could actually afford to go to school. So that
Wow.
was, work has always been kind of ingrained in us since we're a young age. 12 years old, I could still remember during the summer going out with my dad. My dad was a surveyor, and I'd be running a brush saw, and my brother would be running a chainsaw, and we'd be cutting lines so he could actually take shots for surveying. And I mean, so that was just normal for us. And then, I mean, there's the the disability that my dad had was he was wrongfully diagnosed with the wrong type of diabetes.
Mm.
So because they did that, it actually ate away at the nerves in his legs. So he was in chronic pain with his legs. So that's why eventually surveying just wasn't in the cards for him anymore. But and then my mom, she also suffered from chronic migraines, chronic fatigue syndrome. So they can almost kind of took turns. It was weird. Like one of them was hurt, and then the other one would get better, and then they flip flop back and forth. So it always seemed like my parents were always trying to take care of each other, and it made things interesting growing up because we never really got to do things as a family that we really wish we would have been able to. So,
So that's why you dropped out of school so you could earn money to support the family.
yep.
Your brother too.
My my brother ended up staying working with my dad, where eventually I actually ended up working for the bait and tackle shop.
Mm. Are your parents still alive today?
My father passed away when I was 18, and my mother is still alive. She still had some health issues recently. She went through a stroke, survived cervical cancers. My mother's been through a lot, so it's been a lot of ups and downs with her.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, that sounds like faced a lot of challenges growing up. Not only, having to drop out of school, supporting the family, but maybe kind of even being a bit of a caretaker or watching your parents at least suffer and
Uh,
Sounds like they both dealt with a lot of pain.
yeah, I could still remember to this day, like for my dad, there was one time I remember coming home and I was pretty young, probably 8 years old, and I didn't know what was going on. My dad was being goofy, walking around the yard, just
Mhm.
he was, for lack of better words, walking around like he was drunk. And I thought he was trying to be goofy, and then next, I saw my mom. She was panicking, calling the ambulance. Got him inside, was trying to get him to drink orange juice, eat peanut butter toast, do anything to try and get his
Mhm.
blood sugar up. And I remember coming back inside, and he was sitting in the chair in the living room, and his blood sugar was so low that they actually had him, like, they had people holding him down, trying to shoot him with insulin. And
Mm.
I don't know, maybe it's childhood memories, but it almost looked like his face was like starting to suck in on itself, and that's still like
Mhm.
a vivid memory today. And then my mom, on the other hand, shortly after transferring out for the military, when I came back initially to visit, I was staying at her place down in southern Wisconsin to spend a little time with her, um, and that's when she actually ended up having a heart attack.
Mm.
And it was me and another family friend that were visiting her. And I remember because I picked her up because like I said, chronic fatigue syndrome. I picked her up and I started carrying her back to her bedroom to help her get settled in for the night. And I just felt her go completely limp. And I knew something was wrong, obviously. And I got her back to the room. And that's when I ended up calling 911. And then me and the family friend, thankfully, we were both CPR certified. We actually took turns until paramedics were able to show up.
Wow. That's a lot to deal with. Such a young age. I mean, you're still young to me, right? So,
Yeah, I
yeah, but
appreciate that. Every
yeah,
once in a while, I don't feel all that
yeah.
young. My,
So how do you think that has shaped you into who you are today? Like, what values do you hold dear? Like, how has that shaped your character?
really, it comes down to, I think, appreciation for what you do have, appreciation for those around you,
Mm-hmm.
appreciation. There's nothing more important to me than my family, my wife, my kids, and then beyond that, everything I do for them. And at the end of the day, like, I try to do things better myself to make sure that, I don't want my kids to have to go through the things that I went through. And I always, I want to be around. I want them, because that's like one of the hardest things for me with my kids right now is, they never got to meet my dad. They never got to meet grandpa. And that's really like my personal goal in life right now is to make sure that, you know, then when they have kids, hopefully well, someday, that they never have to have that conversation with their
Mm,
kids. I want to
yeah.
be around for that. I want to see that. And, it's the same thing for the people I work with every day. That's why, I've gotten a lot more. I joke around with our safety guy here, Nick, before. I was like, when I first started here, I was not the guy you wanted out on the floor. I was not safe. I was not a good worker. But now, in the last few years, it's definitely changed my life in that regard because, I want that for the same people, for the same thing for the people around me. I want them to go home safe. I want them to enjoy their families, and I want them to have those values as well.
So what is it that you love about training? Because you've been in training for a while.
I love troubleshooting more
Mm,
than anything else. So you know, if there's something that comes up that we're not sure how to, make it better, make it work, improve the procedure, improve the process, train it better, put better information out there, or how do we prevent this from happening again in the future, or, anything we can do better. I've always had that kind of mindset. Like I like to fix things. I like to work at making things better. I'm never satisfied with just settling with how things are. I always figure if you're not moving forward, if you're stagnant,
hmm.
you're going backwards.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's always about the future. How do we keep getting better? So Josiah, is there someone that inspired you when you were younger or inspires you today? Something you aspire for yourself?
I think I guess to me, it's my family's always been my inspiration. Even with the hardships I went through, it's, at the end of the day, you know, there was always that there was always that family atmosphere that I came home to. And, I know there's things that they wish they could have done different, wish that were better. And that kind of motivates me every day because I see where they were at and I see the thought process that they went through and I understand it and I have a better feeling towards it. And I mean, not to be the stereotypical answer, but it's the same thing I feel like every parent aspires for is you want to give your children a better life than what you had.
Mm,
And that's really what motivates me every day is I want to give my kids everything I can and I want to give them the best that I can.
that's admirable. It's a great ambition to have. All right, Josiah. Well, at this point, I want to turn the table a bit and give you an opportunity to ask me a question if you have one.
What is your favorite plant to visit and why?
Oh, gosh, that's like saying who's your favorite daughter and why?
That's
Come on.
why I
I
figured it'd be fun.
Yeah,
Let's see
it's
if we get an honest
yeah,
answer.
yeah. Um, boy, there's so many ways I could answer that. You know what the first thing that pops into my head is? Who has the best food?
See, that is an honest answer. If I really did live on Lake Bacon.
Yeah, Lake Bacon. Lake Bacon's my favorite food.
Yeah.
No, I mean it every plant has their own personality. They do.
Yeah.
Even though we're all part of the same family, each one there's particular nuances, the people, the community, the lifestyle. That's what makes the plants unique
Yeah.
to me. So like for example, Superior, I admire how hardy the people are. I can't imagine living with the winter winds of Lake Superior blowing in and um, being outdoors. For me, just walking from the car, to get into the building, with my hood wrapped around my face with the winds whipping. I mean, that's incredible to me. The people thrive and love living in conditions like that. This plant is unique up in Superior because the outside of the building is different than any other building. You pull up here and you would never know that this is one of the top world-class film companies in the world. And you look at the outside, it's like stealth, it's like camouflage. You wouldn't know that until you came inside and saw the magic that's happening in here. And the legacy of this plant and the difficult films that are made here effortlessly. So that's when I think about Superior, those are some of the things I think about: the dedication, the focus on quality, the focus on process and procedure. And yeah, but I mean every plant there's something unique and special about. And the people are really who make the company and make the plant.
I agree.
That answer is gonna get me in trouble, I fear. You know what I how I answer that with my daughters? Like they'll say, "Who's your favorite daughter?" Nor I will say, "You're my favorite oldest daughter.
Hmm.
You're my favorite youngest daughter." Yeah, you're my favorite plant in Superior, Wisconsin.
I just always tell my kids they're top two.
They're your top two. Yes, yes, you're top two.
Yeah.
You're in the top 15. Yeah, for sure. All right, Josiah Shearman, you inspire me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.